Greetings, Guardians. My name is Bife here. Previously, we spoke about how Rulk and Savathun had established a sort of adversarial relationship. This time we're going to look at how Savathun made her play, turned to the light, and betrayed Rulk and the Witness. This is a series of events that we all got a huge degree of foreshadowing for, but the actual internal mechanisms of how this all happened and the small minutiae of Savathun's turn to the light are expanded on a lot in the Witch Queen's lore, and that's what I want to go over today. These are events that Savathun clearly planned out for years, and it makes me wonder if she was planning for these events ever since the death of her brother Oryx, or whether it was even before that. Regardless of when her plan began, her great gamble would lead her to the final moments of her life, overlooking the lost city, overlooking the traveler, standing before it in supplication.
I saw the end before it happened. My own death, brought on by the separation from my power. And in these final moments, I looked to the sky. Hello, old friend. I've chased you for a long time. First as an enemy, then as a collector, and finally, now, a supplicant. What is it the Guardians say? Devotion inspires bravery. Bravery inspires sacrifice. And sacrifice... Here we are. Wouldn't it be clever of you if after everything, you simply let me die? What a trick. Elegant. Is that it? If there is an answer, I don't hear it. Because now the world begins to fade.
Savathun awoke from her death into a second life, a life filled with questions and a lack of memory. But Savathun in her past life had known exactly who she could rely on to be so tenacious as to be moved to action. She would use us, the Guardians, as a method of returning her memories to her. And to do this, she would exploit Rulk, the disciple of the Witness, and in doing so would glean a weapon of power from his mind, a weapon that would help us access a power of the darkness that we didn't previously have. Deep Sight. Savathun explained her intentions at the Altar of Reflection in one of the few memories that I think seems credible, because it seems to not contradict another action, and it also seems to run in parallel as an explanation to what's happened in the story. Remember that the Altar of Reflection normally cannot be trusted. Take a listen to this.
The children of the Witness wage a war. It spans centuries and galaxies. They see the fall of thousands of civilizations, the silencing of millions of thoughts. In the mind of one of these warriors lives the memory of an ancient weapon, a blade that cuts with the shining edge of beautiful, terrible logic. Through a game of riddles, I steal this memory for myself. I make the weapon mine, but I do not keep it. I use it as a lure.
This plan was a complex one, and one that Savathun had set in motion well before she died before the Traveler. One that we would eventually play into. But in order for her ultimate goal of stealing the Traveler and sealing it within her throne world to be accomplished, she would need to take steps to secure her throne. She would also need to rediscover her plan and understand her place in the world, something that's very tricky for a being that's newly risen. However, luckily she had set things up in accordance with her needs, in accordance with those who were loyal to her, and with a regard for the fact that she would need to have her design put back into her own memory. The moments that occurred shortly after her death and rebirth are recorded within the 3 exotic glaives, designs for which were stolen through the Osmic Fragments, designs that Imaru was hoping to arm his Hive legions with. We're going to go ahead and read all 3 back to back, and hopefully this will give you all an idea as to what happened when Savathun was reborn in the light, and the first few moves that she made to consolidate her power. Keep in mind, however, that this is written with a historical perspective, and one that very clearly seems to glorify Savathun. The reason I say this is because all 3 lore entries come from the Books of Rememoration, a story sewn into flesh with sinew and malice, a record of the Scheme Mother's resurrection and return. It's a Hive tome of some sort, which has clearly been made not only as a record for the resurrection of Savathun, but also as potentially propaganda, one that not only allows her to better convince her brood of their purpose and to continue following her, but also one that maybe gets distributed to newly reborn Lucent Hive, light bearers that have no memory. It's not clear what the function of this book was, but I don't think that such a record would have been made purely for the sake of keeping records. I think there is an alternative motive for this being made, but either way, it gives us an insight into what might have happened. So, with that little pinch of salt said, here are all 3 entries from that book as we know them. The witch, Insidious, was killed upon the rock cliff as a wretched sacrifice. With life drawn from the sky, she was reborn, the witch, radiant. The mangled creature, a ghost, that bestowed the sky's life spoke to her, to restore her unmarked mind. It said, "You are a god of the chosen krill, the hive. You are the mother of cunning and lies. You are the first of your kind gifted with the light, which is a paracausal force of the sky." The Queen of Lies listened quietly to these reminders. Even in her rebirth, with a mind emptied of memory, her cunning shone brightly, and she stitched together her new truth. She asked her new companion where she must go next, and it was then that her most trusted witch arrived to guide her to her lure. The Scheme Mother reborn returned to her lure. Here, her ghost companion and her trusted witch led her to a broken statue. The statue held a fragmented weapon in its alien arms. When the Scheme Mother asked why these broken things were on her ship, her most trusted witch told her, "You broke them, my queen, because they belong to a traitor." The great goddess of whispers reached to hold the broken weapon. Although she did not remember its shape, she could feel its power and potential. The Mother of Lies said, "This vile artifact holds memory, and it is memory that I lack. Perhaps the thing I was could retrieve these memories, but the thing I am cannot. I must find a creature capable of holding 2 wrestling paracausal forces in its breast. I must outsource my remembering to someone else." With a fresh mind and searching eyes, the Scheme Mother Reborn returned to her throne world, which, without the edge of sword logic, had become a shell of itself. Here she strolled the parapets and fell deep into contemplation. Although she could remember nothing, her mind was sharp as a tooth. When she emerged from her contemplation, the Whisper Queen addressed her brood. She said, "My children, I know the truth, and out of my love for you I will share it." Before them, she killed her most trusted witch in a transcendent blaze of light. This witch became the first of the Lucent, the first resurrected in the image of the Queen herself. This is how the Lucent Brood were born. Savathun could not use the weapon, the glaive, or the fragment of it that had been left and broken on her massive ship, the Lure, to unlock her own memories. So, she waited until we arrived at the Lure in the first mission of the campaign for Witch Queen, and when we did, just as was planned, we retrieved this blade and crafted it into the Enigma. One blade that ultimately would help us to further unlock the powers of Deep Sight, an ability that we would use to uncover the past, and unwittingly in doing so, we would help Savathun to remember. But there was one more problem that plagued Savathun: Rulk. He resided still within her throne world even though he was in the pyramid. Such a terrible creature of darkness had to be contained swiftly before his retribution was brought down upon the Brood and the throne world and the Witch Queen. Savathun did just this, and the next time the witness was communicated to, it was Savathun who sent the message, not the disciple. Not the disciple. She gloated and explained Rulk's fate in a moment of defiance, cast in the light of a war that she might well lose. This moment can be found in the Resonant Fury Warlock bond from the Vow of the Disciple raid. It reads as follows. "Tell me, O witness mine, does the light that fills this once dreadful, tiresome space blind you from its newfound glory? You expected the same old correspondence from your dragooned errand boy, no doubt. Surely just as you expected your machinations within my throne world to continue unfettered until your definition of eternity came to pass. Well, don't I have some unfortunate news for you then? But this comes as no surprise, of that I'm sure. You're always watching. Let me share my perspective then, which you must be waiting for with bated breath. My acquisition of the light itself is delightful proof of an existence higher even than yours. A sort of karmic wit, if you will. Though I remember not all the eons-long hardship I endured at your whim, the nefarious sentiment lingers within my mind, overcome only by the pleasure of your assured discontent. It was this said pleasure that gave me the strength to disperse the light throughout this prison you called my home. Since it is now to remain my domain, it has been decorated to reflect as such. No longer does this plane live only in the lackluster ambience of darkness. It is brighter now. My truth can finally thrive. No longer do the walls that birthed our parasitic chains house your machinations. The tools and parasites within shattered. And no longer does your subjugator subjugate. He lies ensnared within his obtrusive eyesore, for upon Rulk's attempt to subdue me with that toy he's annoyingly always on about, his upended, I was able to counteract it, showing first-hand the power bequeathed to me in my new state. Now the once great pyramid lies fractured, a sight you will become familiar with. So try and send your scorn, or your disciples, or even bring your many selves to reclaim your loss if you must. But this is my domain now, and you shall never set foot inside it, even if I must draw my final breath to keep it that way." Savathun imprisoned Rulk within his pyramid and prevented him from reaching out through any means other than the armies of scorn that the witness would be able to send to serve as shock troops within the throne realm. Savathun would be able to contend with Rulk, but she was always doing so only so that she might buy time. Time enough to relearn her final plan and to enact it. Sealing the Traveler away would be her final ploy. But of course, this is not what came to pass. We Guardians descended upon the throne world as predicted. But Savathun could not predict our tenacity, could not predict our zeal, and she could not predict that she had always been lied to by the Witness from the very beginning. Her downfall was one of her own doing. But with her death, the bonds sealing Rulk within the pyramid were sure to be undone in time. As the late Witch Queen said to us before she fell, "The game is yours to play now. Yours to win or lose. Just don't say, I didn't warn you." This, the death of Savathun, would finally lead us to the moments of our great battle, where we would enter the sunken pyramid and put an end to its cruel master. But that is a story for another time. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, you know the typical stuff to do. I'm going to go ahead and work on the raid video playlist. As a quick note, I know there's ongoing nonsense happening with regards to copyright strikes. I don't know what's currently going on the channel. All I'd say is remain calm. Don't go and lash out at anyone at Bungie. Listen to my voice when I tell you that that's really not necessary. If you want to go ahead and support the channel, continue doing as you normally do. Go ahead and watch the content, like the video, make sure that you're subscribed, all this other stuff. It's fine in the end. We will get through this no matter what. I've made sure that I'm in touch with everyone who's got some kind of input on the situation, whether it's at YouTube or whether it's at Bungie, and we are going to make sure that everything is resolved. And I think it's most important for everyone to just go ahead and support the content creators in this situation, because, yeah, no, this is not happening rightly. And Bungie knows that, and they're working on resolving things, quite clearly. Also, don't go ahead and lay the blame at Bungie's feet until we actually know what's going on, because, yeah, no, that's not helpful. In fact, it probably only escalates the situation beyond what it is. Let's wait until we have the actual official word on this, and then we'll think about something more. In the meantime, though, thank you so much for your continued support, and thank you for making this the best month of Destiny content in the channel's history in terms of viewership. You guys have smashed every single record we've ever set, and it's really inspiring to see that you guys are absolutely loving this content and are still around to support the channel. So, thank you very much, and know that, as per usual, your viewership is quite enough for me. And that in the meantime, my name is Byf. Perodacia ad Astra. I'll see you, Starside.